Hello, Canucks fans. Welcome back to another episode of Canucks Conversation, episode 900 of Canucks Conversation. 900 episodes. That is absolutely crazy. Thank you to everybody for being along with the ride. Canucks Conversation is brought to you by our friends at Bet365, and we're coming to you from the Pacific Toyota Dealer Studios. Visit shoptoyota.ca or visit your local Pacific Toyota dealer today. My name is David Quadrelli. As you know by now, 900 episodes, and I'm joined by Harman Dial. A big win for the Vancouver Canucks. Now, I want to start off the show. Obviously, already thank you to everybody. 900 episodes. Couldn't have done it without everybody who listens to this show. We appreciate it. But this Canucks team, it is so hard to figure out what they are. And maybe some people don't agree. But this is what I think, okay? Now you tell me if I'm wrong. And we're going to get Jeff here in a second. J-Pat's going to join us. I know that their underlying numbers suggest that regression's coming. I know that it suggests they're not a great team. They're a perfect 500 right now, which would be the worst record in the East. We'll talk about that later in the show. I have that for anyone else. But they're 7-7. That the underlying results haven't been there, and that it's just the record should probably be a little bit worse. But I also take in the context that they managed to do that with all the injuries, with Quinn Hughes looking pretty ordinary to start the season. Am I crazy for thinking that this team might have more to give?
No, I think it's nuanced and tough to figure out because, we had this conversation, I want to say a week and a half ago, maybe, where I presented this sort of exact idea that it's really hard to figure out what exactly they are because sure, you could point to in most games they've been outshot and outchanced pretty dramatically. And it's not just the public data. If you look at some of the sport logic stuff, earlier this week, they were 32nd in the league in terms of expected goal differential, but then it comes with the context as well of how banged up they've been, Quinn Hughes being
Exactly.
ordinary. But then it's also not as simple as saying, oh, well, when they get bodies back and Quinn Hughes looks like himself, that, oh, for sure, they're going to look like a completely different team. And that's why I think, broadly speaking, we need more time to figure out what exactly this Canucks team is and isn't. There have absolutely been some yellow and red flags in terms of their profile, but also the game last night, process-wise, is what you want to see from this team. And that was my biggest takeaway from the win over Nashville wasn't just the result. It was how much better they were at controlling play, driving high quality chances as a team. At one point, the shots were 22-8 in favor of the Canucks in the second period. At one point in the third, they were 32-19 in favor of the Canucks. When was the last time the Canucks were decisively controlling the shot battle like that? It's felt like a long time. And you're hoping that, yeah, of course, it was against Nashville Predators, so take it with a grain of salt. But you saw positives that you hope that they can build on, and especially now that you got Quinn Hughes back in the lineup, you're hoping that Connor Garland, who's arguably your best play driver at 5-on-5, once he returns sooner rather than later, that he can give them a bit of a jolt as well. But yeah, I agree with the overall take that it's not just as simple as, oh, their underlying numbers look bad and therefore this team is cooked for the playoffs. It's way more nuanced than that.
We're going to dive into the standings a bit later too and just see where they are. We're going to talk about where everyone else is. It's been an interesting first month of the season. Let's bring in Jeff Patterson, who's brought to you by our friends over at Greta, a great spot for all games, home and away. You can skip the line and not have to pay cover on game nights if you're wearing the home team's gear. And of course, there's also the game day specials at Greta, including $3.33 off select food items, $3.33 on select drinks, and more. Arcade, bar, street food menu, a lot of good stuff going on at Greta. Make it your spot to watch the next game. And after you're done watching the game, make sure you head onto the Rink-Wide Vancouver YouTube channel and check out our pal Jeff Patterson wearing his Poppy today, wearing his Better Collective hoodie. Can't ask for more. Jeff, last night's game, I guess before last night's game, because we haven't even talked about the game. I don't know how long you've been sitting in the background there, but what do you think when it comes to that conversation Harman and I were just having about like trying to figure out who the real Canucks are and how it's just been difficult?
Right. And I wrote about this in our mailbag on Monday. Somebody asked me a little bit about, who are the Canucks and have we seen Adam Foote's system and all that kind of stuff. And I commend them 7-7, given everything that they've been up against. I look at that and I think, all things considered, it's pretty impressive. That said, it's 14 games in, and if they remain at 500, at some point to get where they want to go, they're going to have to get on a heater and probably on a couple. And that's where I wonder, even getting Connor Garland back and getting Teddy Bluger back and at some point Derek Forbort, and that suggests that all those guys come back and nobody leaves. I see all these people, just wait till they get healthy. Have you been watching? These are the Canucks. It's a contact sport. There's no guarantee that when some of these guys come back, others won't leave. But my point is, I think through 14, they've established a pretty reasonable base. We've seen their floor. They find ways between goaltending and spread offense and using overtime or a shootout, they're able to pick up wins. But nobody's got any idea about their ceiling. And even when they get these guys back, I'm not sure that their ceiling is a whole lot more than what we're seeing right now. You want to believe that it is, but they're about to run this gauntlet, and we'll see how they fare there. But ultimately, and this is what I wrote, do you believe, given the component parts that they've got right now, and when I say right now, I include the injured guys, does this look like a group that could have a couple of 8-2 runs over two separate 10-game stretches? And when you come back to the yellow and red flags that Harm mentioned, I think there are enough of them there that might prevent this team from, 8-2 stretch. That's 16-4 over 20 games at some point. And yet that's what they kind of would have to do to get the points necessary to be above the playoff bar at season's end. So your guess is as good as mine. They're wildly entertaining. I give them credit. That was fun last night. Well, not when they squandered the 2-goal lead, but back and forth and trading chances. They're not going to win a lot of games when they give up 4. That's a fact. And so you get a win when you allow 4, but you score 5. Hey, good on them. And it was nice to see Brock get a couple. It was nice to see them play to the final buzzer, and they truly needed just about every tick of time in overtime. And it was nice to see Quinn Hughes back. If that's his jumping on point, he looked healthy. He looked ready to go. Saw some vintage spin moves from the captain, and he will make the Canucks better. But boy, 7-7 through 14, when we talk about Chicago and Columbus and then this 6-game gauntlet, can they scratch out 4 wins out of the next 8 hockey games? Let's revisit this when they get through this 8-game run.
I love that in that win, they picked up a victory without relying on Thatcher Demko to steal you a game. And in fact, he looked kind of ordinary. And when you look at them blowing that third period lead, I actually don't fault the Canucks that much for it. Both goals were essentially point shots and pucks that Thatcher Demko normally stops. And on the offensive front, it's not as if they were relying purely on opportunistic finishing. They were actually creating quality looks at a pretty decent clip against Nashville. From your perspective, what did you like most about the way they won last night?
Well, they played to the final buzzer. I guess when that puck went into the corner off the faceoff, I kind of wrote in my notes and figured they were going to shoot out, and then looked back up at the screen and hang on, they're still playing here, and sure enough, they won. Good to see Evander Kane get a couple. I thought he got totally hosed on the call. I was glad to see Adam Foote kind of call out the officials post game, because that was a reputation call through and through, and tarnished what was a pretty solid night, and obviously his best night offensively, because he's in the box on the tying goal. But I liked a bunch of different things. I liked the fact that Tom Melander showed us his chops again, skates into open ice, has the vision to carry the puck in, and something good happens there, and he gets his first National Hockey League point. I like Brock's finish on that one. I like the fact that Brock and Jake DeBrusk scored in the same game for the first time all season, because these are the guys that the Canucks, they have to lean on. They're the ones that have to come through. And I loved Petey's thread the needle pass through Ryan O'Reilly on the 5-on-3. It's flashes. You want to see way more of that, but there's moments like that. You think, damn, that's a highly skilled pass against a guy that knows how to defend in the National Hockey League. And Petey just put the puck right through him and onto the stick of Besser, and it was going back door to Kane, but Jake DeBrusk was there to intercept and poke it home. So, I like the fact they spread the offense. I thought for the most part, everybody was going. Adam Foote rolled 4 lines for the most part. There were a few that the underlying numbers didn't flatter, but that's kind of Canuck hockey for you. So I'm finding myself, like, it's hard to critique their victories. Again, given all that they've been up against, 9 of their 14 on the road, to Nashville twice. They've been to Washington. They've been as far south as Dallas. They've been here and there and everywhere. And found a way to hold their head above water. And they didn't, you said they didn't rely on Petey, and I would say that they didn't rely on Quinn Hughes. Like in overtime, they've won 2 of the games that have been decided in overtime. Quinn wasn't in the lineup for the Edmonton game, and he was out at center guarding Philip Forsberg, and it became a 2-on-2 battle down low. I love that fact that it shows that they can win in crunch time. They can come through, that other guys on this team can get the job done for them. And I think there's some positive reinforcement in that. So I think there was plenty to like in that one. And again, out on the road, they wanted to be above 500. They win 2 of 3. They weren't always pretty, but now they come home and they've got to figure this thing out and grind out some victories at Rogers Arena.
I wanted to ask you specifically about Quinn Hughes. We've talked a lot so far this season about how he has more to give. Obviously, he goes away with the groin injury, misses a few games. I thought he looked good last night. I thought he was closer to the old Quinn last night.
Well, I loved on the extra attacker goal, Kane second. He had the Predators in chase mode big time. And, when he does those things at the top of the slot, there are just not a lot of guys in the league that can do that, and there aren't many that can defend. And he creates space for himself, and then he's able to slide the puck over to Marcus Paterson and in front to Carlson, and the nifty little pass onto Evander Kane. So that was sort of vintage Quinn there. I'm not surprised. Anytime he's in uniform, he's good to go, even coming off a groin injury. They played him a lot. And there were moments, as I said. In saying that, it wasn't a perfect night for him either. On that first goal, he jumps up into the neutral zone, doesn't make the play, and then I didn't love, he sauntered back on the back check. Like, lots of people were pointing fingers at Paterson for his back check there, but he had company, and you're the captain, you're setting the tone for the hockey club. I didn't love Quinn's effort level on the back check there, but through it all, he finds a way to pull on the rope and help this hockey club, and again, that's his jumping on point after missing 4 games. He'll find his game, but it is wild to get to the 14-game mark, and he's got 1 goal, and it was an empty netter in Dallas. Tyler Myers is the only other defenseman on this team that has scored a goal. So there was a lot of talk and emphasis at training camp in the preseason about defensemen jumping up into the rush, adding extra layers. Again, they've been missing people, so maybe we haven't seen Adam Foote's systems entirely, but sort of one of the understated stories of them holding their head above water is, it's not like others on the defensive side of things have jumped up and contributed a ton. Philip Hronek kind of quietly has 7 assists in 14 games, so you'll take that, half a point a game from him. But just the 2 goals from defensemen through 14 games, and one of them was Quinn into an empty net, and that's his only goal so far this season.
How surprised have you been at how quickly Verlander has been able to find his footing at the NHL level? Because all the conversations we're having around training camp and preseason were that he doesn't quite seem ready at that moment. And yet pretty quickly here, he's showing a lot of promise and doesn't look out of place at all in an NHL environment.
Yeah, I'm surprised because I was underwhelmed by his preseason, and his training camp was all right. He's a beautiful skater. That's a gift that he has. But it was about processing the game and making the right reads and all of those types of things. I'm not sure that I saw a second of his games down in Abbotsford, and there were only 5 of them. But clearly this guy's a quick study and a quick learner, and we know that he went the college route. I'm sure that he's a smart guy on and off the ice. He looks like a guy that has processed the game here pretty quickly. And, I think the game in St. Louis was a step forward. Game in Minnesota, you and I did rink right afterwards. There wasn't a lot to like in that game, but his performance going up against Kaprizov and, more than holding his own, like that's a huge confidence boost for him. But I think also for the coaching staff in trusting him. Now, he didn't play a lot in Nashville. Quinn was back. There was a bunch of special teams. It was a close game in the third period. I think he only had 3 third period shifts. So, they spotted him there, and that's going to continue to happen. But when I look at the battle for ice time and guys trying to stay in this lineup as some of these injured guys maybe come back at some point, hopefully sooner rather than later, like I thought it was a tough night for DPD. On the bunting goal, poor decision to try to just stuff the puck up the boards, puts it into traffic, can't clear the zone, and then lets Bunting get to the front of the net ahead of him. And instead of taking his man, Verlander didn't make those types of mistakes in his limited action. And so it was just a clean game. He wasn't on the ice for a goal against. He was on for the one that he set up Brock Besser. So even sheltered, I thought, again, another step forward, and a guy that, I think would be hard to take out of this lineup in the here and now. The fact that they chose to keep him in over a guy with 200 games of NHL experience, we thought on Rink Wide that would be the case. And sure enough, it was. And P.O. Joseph comes out and Verlander stayed in. So good on him.
There's some bodies coming back to the Canucks here. Connor Garland, Teddy Bluger. Expecting Garland first based on what Adam Foote said yesterday in Nashville. But when both guys are healthy, just as we kind of wrap up here, like, where do you see them slotting in? Because I wrote about this today. To me, Garland goes back to the Paterson line. Like, you've got to put him and Paterson back. I think that chemistry is undeniable. The more interesting one, I think, is Bluger, because then it becomes a conversation of, is Lucas Reichel better as a winger? The results haven't really been there for Reichel just yet. What says you?
Yeah, I would agree. I think you have to stick Garland back with Elias Patterson and hope they can pick up where they left off. And then Teddy Bluger is still a little bit of an enigma here. Like, I know Adam Foote said Garland's close and then Bluger will be the next one, but we don't really have a timeline. And Foote didn't put one there. So need them to come off the road after the morning skate tomorrow. Hopefully we can get a little bit more clarity from the coach on a bunch of guys. Hopefully Connor Garland's a full participant and is able to play, but it wouldn't surprise me if, and we don't know where he is in his recovery. I know there were reports he was skating today, but is this the first time? Has he been skating? I won't be shocked if he doesn't play against the Blackhawks and then benefits from a couple more days before they've got the back-to-backs on the weekend here. And then Teddy Bluger, obviously, and Garland too, like kind of quietly, Connor Garland will help the penalty kill immediately. And then Bluger and Forber beyond that. But guys, I don't know. Like, I don't know what you do with Teddy Bluger in the absence of any other options down the middle. Like, it's pretty clear that Lucas Reichel is not their second line center. I know he's playing that position now, but he's had a 6-game audition and done next to nothing with it. So hopefully his former team, seeing them on the other side, that'll bring out something in him when he sees Chicago. But Teddy Bluger can't be the second line center. Even in a pinch, Teddy Bluger can't be the second line center for the Vancouver Canucks. So does Ratu get promoted? Do you roll the dice with Max Sasson and hope that he can hold his own? Do you give him a shot there? These are all questions I don't have the answers to, and I'm not sure that the coaching staff does. So need to see that Bluger is in fact close and an option here sooner rather than later. But as far as Garland, boom, put him right back in with Patterson, play him a lot in all situations, and he will make the Vancouver Canucks better. I don't think there's much doubt about that. So just a question of whether he's good to go against Chicago or whether he needs a little bit more time.
Jeff, great stuff as always. Thank you for doing this. We'll see you on Rinkwide.
All right. Congrats on 900. Of the ballpark of the 900, how many have you hosted?
Definitely over 800. Chris did 61 without me when the show started, and then he brought me on for episode 62. Or no, sorry, he did 60. I joined on 61. And then, yeah, I mean, he left around 400, I think, 500. And yeah, definitely over 800. I'm going to say 830 because I have fill-in hosts every once in a while. I take a couple days off every year. So, yeah, I'll say 850. I don't take that many days off. 850, I'm going to say. All
right. Congrats. It's a nice round numbers.
Thank you. Thanks, Jeff.
Yep. See you guys.
There he is, Jeff Patterson. Harm, I want to pick up the conversation, and I know you've got your segment, which you're very excited about. You're always excited about it, but I want to pick up this conversation about the guys returning. Garland, like I said, easy one. And for who gets sent down, don't forget Nils Mons in the press box. Mackenzie McEachern is in the lineup. Those are the names, okay? It's not a matter of, is Max Sasson going to get sent down? It's which one of these guys is going to go to the press box. That's what the conversation really is. And I wrote about this. Jeff just corrected me that I'm on. Who's Jeff still sticking around? Jeff, who the hell's the 13th forward right now? What am I missing? Who's the extra skater on the Canucks right now? There's no healthy extras. Okay. Well, anyways, I'll have to revisit that aspect of it. But when those guys return, it's Kudryavtsev. Okay. Anyways, when those guys return, when it's Garland, when it's Bluger, obviously Garland goes back to Patterson. I think we all agree on that. Jeff agreed on that. You do as well. I know you do because we've had the conversation. But Bluger, like, Jeff made some good points about you don't really want him as the second line center.
Who else do you want? Henrik Sedin to come out of retirement?
Exactly. Like, this is what I'm saying is, like, I don't know what the answer is because I don't think it's Lucas Reichel anymore. And I'm not.
And as much as I've been the first one, even going back to last year, to say that I haven't loved Teddy Bluger's 5-on-5 play for the Canucks the last, call it 12 months. Where I think he's such a black hole offensively. We know he's reliable defensively, but to have him higher than a fourth line role, you're asking for trouble. But then the question is, who else do you trust in that role? Right? I'm not expecting a whole lot more from Max Sasson, to be totally honest, even though he has chipped in with the odd goal here or there. And let's be honest with Aatu Räty, he hasn't taken the step that we were hoping for. He hasn't been, and this is where, remember when he was producing down the stretch and we're having these conversations at a training camp around, can he perhaps be ready for top 9 center duties this year? And I pointed out that stretch he had last year where he was scoring goals, he was on a shooting percentage bender, and Podkolzin also had gone on a shooting percentage bender in his rookie year. And then the following year, it didn't translate. We're seeing now that Räty, I don't trust that he can drive play in that kind of role. So as much as I don't love Teddy Bluger, put it this way, I don't like Teddy Bluger in a 3C role. So to ask him to be your 2C is even more wild. And yet he's probably the best option that they have.
Yeah, like it's him or Reichel. And when I wrote it, basically I wrote this at Canucks Army like right before we went to air, and I landed on Bluger as 2C. Like, it has to be Bluger, I think. And Reichel goes down and plays as a winger on that Abbey line. Or if they really want to be a center, he can take Max Sasson's spot. And not for Sasson to go to the press box, but Sasson can play the wing. And, you know, whether it's Carlson or whether it's Baines, one of those guys goes to the press box. Like, you have options on that fourth line because Sasson, again, been a winger most of his NHL playing time. He's been a winger. And if they really want Reichel to be a center, then they can do it. But I would probably put Reichel at wing.
Yeah, I would keep that Abbey line together. I thought they actually had a bounce back game against Nashville after struggling against Minnesota. I thought they were back to using their speed to win battles. Didn't love Linus Karlsson's game as much, especially that one shift where he had a couple of brutal turnovers in the second period. But I thought Sasson and Baines were recovering pucks in the offensive zone, spending time in the attacking end. I would maybe lean toward shifting Reichel to the wing and then bumping him onto, let's say, the third line in McEachern's spot and have him play with Aatu Räty and Drew O'Connor, and maybe you ask O'Connor to play the right wing so that Reichel can play on the left side, where when he has played wing, he's typically been more of a
But then what happens to Sherwood? Because
oh yeah, that's a good point. If you're bumping Garland up there, then he's an option there. Then maybe
Sherwood. I have Sherwood in the McEachern spot with Drew O'Connor, right?
Yeah,
with the new keeper Sherwood, Drew O'Connor, right? Playing with keeper Sherwood. Like, there's. I know it's like a bunch of mid. We're talking about a bunch of mid, but there's quietly a little log jam going on with.
Well, okay, then you take out one of Karlsson or Baines.
That's what I landed on. I think it's Karlsson. that comes.
Yeah, I didn't like Karlsson's game, and I think Sasson and Baines have both been better than him on the whole this year. This isn't just a take based on the last game.
Agreed. And like I said, Sasson, right hand, go to the right. Go to the wing where Karlsson is, and Reichel can play center if you want. All right. Yeah, I just want to make sure we had that conversation because I think it's kind of one facing this team right now. I want to hear about some stats, Harm. I don't know when is a good time to do it, but I'd like
Now's
to hear
a great time. Now's a great time. I'm always ready. Stat of the day.
Time for what?
The stat of the day, which is a presentation of Uber Eats. Uber Eats is enabling fans to maximize their fandom all season long with exclusive game day deals on the app, from game day eats to paper plates and napkins if you're hosting, to all the ingredients you need to make your favorite game day dip. Before, during, and after the game, Uber Eats is assisting every hockey fan's experience all season long. Hashtag crave the stats. It's funny because we call it stat of the day. It's usually just 2 or 3 stats of the day, all related to one topic. And I'm basically going to be doing that again. Wanted to focus on Jake DeBrusk because I think it's really interesting how stark the difference has been between his performance on the power play versus at 5-on-5. On the power play, Jake DeBrusk scored last night, obviously, 16 shots on goal in just 53 minutes. On a per minute basis, he's one of the league's leaders in shots on goal. All 3 of his goals have been on the power play and doesn't have a 5-on-5 goal yet. So it's just such a stark contrast to where at 5-on-5, still been getting some shots here and there, but hasn't gotten his first goal of the year there. And yet it's not just the goal DeBrusk scored on the power play. On the man advantage, he also had the one chance where on the entry he drove to the net, and then the pair of glorious opportunities he had, which led to him drawing the penalty that led to the 5-on-3, where he got fed the puck right in front and was robbed not once but twice by UC Saros.
Really nice saves. Really nice saves. He elevated the puck too. He got it up.
Yeah, and so I thought DeBrusk was an animal on the power play against Nashville, which just continues a trend where since he's come to Vancouver, he has been so good on that power play, which I wasn't entirely sure whether he was going to be able to make an impact on the man advantage, because Besser, before DeBrusk had arrived, had really proven himself as a pretty elite net front option himself. We know that DeBrusk has been, even when he was in Boston, more of a net front guy. And so the conversations when DeBrusk arrived last year were, can he figure out how to be that left shot in the bumper? And that unit's found a way to adapt, or credit to Brock as well, where DeBrusk has been able to handle most of the net front duties, and Brock's been the piece that's been floating around a little bit more, spending more time in the bumper and showing that he's flexible and versatile as a power play weapon. I think that's helped DeBrusk play and make an impact where he's most comfortable. But just overall, thought it was interesting how big a difference there's been, where you love everything DeBrusk is doing on the power play lately, but you're still waiting for him to really find his form at even strength.
Someone pointed this out to me last night too. DeBrusk always comes live in November. November's his favorite month of the year, right? He always comes alive in November. Even last year, it was a really quiet start for him in October. And again, he finished the season 2 points shy of his career high, led the team in goals. So you're really hoping this November Jake is a real thing.
Well, and this is the thing. When he scores and gets going, he'll put up 9 goals in 10 games. He'll have that kind of stretch. And I remember almost exactly this time last year, it was early November. He just scored his first goal of the year, I think against San Jose on November 2nd or something. I was on the California road trip. This was an off day, maybe in either Anaheim or LA. And I asked him straight up about his streaky reputation. And hey, you scored your first goal. Does that mean you're about to get hot and a bunch more coming? And he straight up owned the idea, didn't shy away from, as much as he would like to be consistent, I can't lie, I've been in the league for a long time. I am a streaky player. So I would hope now that I've got one that the ball is going to keep rolling. And when you look at this team's schedule, we've talked about how difficult mid-November is going to be when they face that gauntlet of elite Stanley Cup contenders, 6 games in a row. That would be the perfect time for DeBrusk to just go on that kind of heater where he goes in 2 or 3 of these a year, where for a stretch of weeks, he's one of the best goal scorers in the NHL. They could really use that version of Jake DeBrusk right now.
All right, let's get to anyone else, which is a presentation of our friends at Pacific Toyota. Pacific Toyota dealers and the Toyota Prius plug-in hybrid, a no-compromise approach to electric vehicles that offers the best of both worlds. Drive up to 72 kilometers on the battery alone, then seamlessly transition from electric mode to the gas engine for a combined range of 962 kilometers. There's no sacrifices when it comes to horsepower style, with its sleek, low, and wide exterior and sophisticated interior. It's loaded with tech that's actually easy to use. Plug in to recharge at home or at one of the over 2,000 public charging stations in BC alone. And now you can lease a 2025 Prius plug-in hybrid SE from $99 weekly at 3.49% APR for 64 months with $3,600 down, and it includes a $3,000 discount. Visit shoptoyota.ca or your local Pacific Toyota dealer today. All right, some news coming down earlier today. Vitaly Kravtsov has been placed on waivers with the intention, of contract termination. he's going back to Russia.
Is this
He's
news?
sorry.
Sorry, I was just making a joke about whether this is actually worth discussing or not.
Well, hey, the Abbotsford Canucks could use anybody, right? Like,
Yeah,
well,
fair point.
yeah. So Vitaly Kravtsov heading back to Russia. We always kind of knew this would be a possibility when he signed back here. It was, the goal was I'm going to make an NHL comeback after a really strong KHL season. It didn't happen. It was pretty evident right away, in training camp at least, that it wasn't going to happen. I'm assuming this is the last we've seen of Vitaly Kravtsov in North America. Do you agree?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
So-
if you're a player like Kravtsov, it's not just that he didn't make the Canucks, but also wasn't claimed off waivers despite being a former top 10 pick. And once you reach that point and he had the allure of, hey, I put up a bunch of points in the KHL, didn't always do that in the past, at least to the clip that he did last year where he was a top 10 scorer in that league and still in that age range where maybe a team might have thought he could figure it out with another opportunity. If you're Kravtsov now, you've realized you don't really have an NHL opportunity, and why not go back to Russia, be one of the top players in your home country, make more money than you likely would in the AHL, and carve out a career closer to home.
Yeah. 3-year deal with Tractor, which is the team he was with last year. Is their mascot an actual tractor?
No, probably can't be.
You don't know that. You're just guessing.
It can't be, dude.
Hang on.
No, it's not. I think it's like a greyhound or something, if I remember
yeah,
the
it's like
logo
a-
corrector.
I wasn't even sure if KHL teams had mascots.
Oh no, it's like a polar bear or something. Traktor
Conductor.
Chelyabinsk. It's a polar bear. Their old logo used to be a polar bear, like breaking a hockey stick in half.
Yeah.
Now it's just like a fancy modern
So
art polar bear. So there you go.
does
No tractors.
tractor? What does tractor mean in Russian? I did some Russian on Duolingo for a bit.
You're the one that
I'm
did
looking it up.
Duolingo.
Yeah.
You tell us.
Well, we never got to the farm equipment section.
Well, it's
Does it just-
TRAK.
It's
Yeah.
funny. It apparently just
It means
does
tractor.
translate to tractor.
That's what I'm
It actually
saying.
does?
Yeah. That's so. Anyway,
Okay,
But-
wow.
I know. I guess the logo, they just wanted to go with a polar bear because it looks cooler. I'm
Wait, so
pretty
that's their team name?
Yeah, the
Tractor.
Chelyabinsk tractor
what is Chelyabinsk?
And their
mean?
logo is what, like a polar bear?
polar bear. Well,
Oh,
Chelyabinsk is the
Chelyabinsk
city.
is the city.
Yeah, and it's like kind of middle of nowhere, basically in Siberia. So I guess the polar bear makes sense.
What's the history of that, Jacob? That's your new assignment for anyone else. Tell us all about how they were
Okay,
named.
I will do the research. I'll find out why they're called tractor and why they have a polar bear.
Russia is so massive. Like, it's crazy how big Russia is. Do you guys? I don't know. We're getting a little off topic, but have you ever heard this? I don't even call it conspiracy theory. I've heard people suggest that Russia is bigger than it appears on maps. Like it's even bigger.
Well,
by land
it's the
mass.
other way, actually. It's smaller because the Mercator projection makes the land closer to the poles look more stretched out than it does at the equator. So it's actually smaller than it looks on the map.
Oh, it's a
Yeah.
good thing you're on this show, Jacob.
Uh,
And I've heard
just
this
doing my
too.
job.
Africa, the continent, right, is
So
smaller on maps than it
Yeah.
actually is. Yeah.
and so like Africa as a continent is comparatively to the rest of the world larger than it appears on the map.
Yeah.
I found the research, by the way. I don't know why their logo is a polar bear, but they're called Tractor because they were founded as a team of employees working at the Chelyabinsk tractor plant in 1947. So all the like assembly line workers at the tractor plant building farm equipment decided they were going to form a hockey team together. So there you go.
All right. Can we get back on track,
That
please?
did
We're
not
talking about
disappoint. That
we're
did not
talking about-
disappoint. That did not disappoint.
That was a great story.
That was the best. That was so worth it. All the best to Vitaly Kravtsov.
I don't know how we ended up talking about the size of Africa relative to
Because
How it is
I
on a
looked up
map.
where Chelyabinsk is.
Okay, no, I didn't need you to literally tell me how we got to that.
Well, I'm ready. I know where Chelyabinsk is. You don't. So there you go. Boy, genius, my ass. All right, next topic here. Yeah, okay, I had this one as well that I wanted to just mention. Connor Garland, close to returning. This was a report. We saw this from Rick Dollywall that he skated today. We don't know exactly how many times he skated, kind of like what Jeff alluded to. We don't know when he'll be back, but we also had Adam Foote yesterday say that he's close and that Bluger is going to be close behind him as well. So that's good. That's good news. Getting a couple guys back for this team.
Yeah, of course. A couple other notes that I wanted to touch on from the game. First, I thought Patterson, maybe on a shift-by-shift basis, wasn't controlling and dictating play, but I thought his passing in that game was unreal. Jeff mentioned earlier the pass between O'Reilly's legs, which ended up leading to DeBrusk's goal, but then also the indirect bank pass that he made to Sherwood for his breakaway chance in the second period. And then, of course, in OT to set up Brock for the winner in the dying seconds of overtime. And it's I think a continuation of a theme of the last several games where I think from a stationary kind of perspective, because he's not always making a ton of plays at speed, flying into the neutral zone and into the attacking zone off the rush. But when he gets the puck, he's finding these pinpoint lanes to make passes, especially across the zone, that he does when he's at his best and that he wasn't able to consistently do last year. So that's really encouraging. And I think once Garland comes back, if he can continue to do some of the dirty work to when puck's back on the forecheck to help that line play with speed and set the table for Paterson and give Paterson puck touches in the offensive zone, well, then that's where Paterson's doing a terrific job of setting the table for everybody else. So I'm excited to see Garland back, and hopefully that can help Paterson find another level offensively, because I do think his passing, he's finding such tight lanes right now and really threading the needle in a way that makes him dangerous. And again, I think on the power play, hasn't quite found his form as a sniper yet, right? I know he had the one-timer goal a few games ago, but still not quite the 2022-23 version of PD as a shooter, but as a passer from that right flank spot, this is him at his best, I think.
Well said. I also want to remind everybody to, before you declare that Patterson's back, hey, we all hear we gotta see it for 20 games. Like, when we're talking about back, let's put into context of what we're talking about. Like, go watch rookie year Elias Pettersson. The 10 goals in 10 games. I saw Cody Severson tweet this out today. That 10th goal, the clapper on the rush with Jimmy Howard in net for the Red Wings. That was his 10th goal in 10 games. Like, that's what we're comparing to. And, you know, I all the people being like, oh, well, they were worried about other people on the ice. You look at who was on the ice for the goal. It's like Goldobin, Louis Eriksson, Derek Pouliot, Chris Tanev. It's like, okay, I don't know if that's the theory, but yeah. Anyways, we'll keep an eye on the PD is back monitor. I think it's a little. It's creeping up. It's creeping up.
Well, this is where I remember in the offseason you were saying either he's all the way back or he's as miserable as he was last year. And I was telling you, what if it's in between?
Yeah.
And I think so far it's been in between, where he's been better than last year.
Yep.
And to this point yet, anyway, he's obviously not the 102-point version of himself that he was at his best.
Yeah, I agree. I was wrong about that one. Jacob will pull up my predictions later, like he did last week, unprompted.
Well, the season's not over, so you could still end up being right. But so far, it's trending in a direction where he's better than last year, but not quite the 90 to 100-point version of himself, where you look at him and go, oh, that's a top 7 or 8 center in the NHL.
Yeah. Okay, this one from Mark. Anyone else? Is Morgan Frost a 2C option if the Flames start a yard sale?
By the way, Mark, I think this is the same Mark that I was working out at the gym 2 hours ago, and he came up to say that he's in the chat and that it just said what's up when we talked with Blue Jays. So drop that in the chat. This is the same Mark that said hi to me at the gym.
Did he talk to you about Morgan Frost while you were at the gym?
No, we talked Blue Jays then. But anyway, if you're a Canucks Conversation listener and you just see me out in public, don't hesitate to say hi. I always love meeting our listeners.
No, I gotta say this too. I gotta say this quickly. We'll get to the Frost thing in a sec, okay? When we started the show, I did not like that. I did not like when people would stop me and say hi. I didn't like it.
Big shot?
No, not big shot, not big shot. I didn't like it. I didn't like that very much. I didn't like being approached. You know, I'm not a big approached guy. I wasn't.
Okay, big celebrity.
Well, this is what I'm getting at. I didn't like it at first. Now I love it. Like now it's the best. I love it. I love when people come say hi. When people message too. Like Chris was always good about that. I just had some, I don't know. I had some weirdos early on because it all happened so fast. Like you start blogging
rise
about
to fame, and then that next moment you can't go down the streets of Vancouver without a swarm of fans.
No, I'll tell this story quick. I'm sure you've had your fair share of weirdos, and I've gotten really good at, you got to have a thick skin in this business. Did I ever tell you about the time that someone sent me my parents' home address? Like, just sent me a screenshot. What the hell? I'm not joking. Like,
are you serious?
Nope, 100% promise you. Screenshot on Twitter in my DMs. I don't even remember what I wrote, what I did. I don't remember what prompted it. I just remember it was one of those times, like, when you tweet something or obviously you do, but when something's posted and you get a big reaction where everybody's against it or whatever, and you stand by your takes, all that sort of stuff. But yeah, this guy just like no prompt other than like, I know he was one of the guys that was replying to me and I didn't really reply back. And you sent me a screenshot of my parents' home address, like on, I don't know if it was Yellow Pages or what site it was, but yeah, he had a little more info than I would have liked. So it was around. Crazy. That was actually why I
So you got Mitch Marner.
I did a little bit. It was not. And dude, like I was also more context. I was 19 at the time. Like I was 19. I say parents' home address. I was still living at home. Like that was also my address at the time. So anyways. Hachiroku in the chat said, I saw Quads at a grocery store in Vancouver yesterday. Told him how cool it was to meet him in person, but I didn't want to be a douche and bother him and ask for photos or anything. He said, oh, like you're doing now? I was taken aback, and all I could say was, huh? But he kept cutting me off and going, huh, and closing his hands shut in front of my face. He walked away and continued. I walked away and continued with my shopping, and I heard him chuckle as I walked off. When I came to pay for my stuff up front, I saw him trying to walk out the doors with 15 Milky Ways in his hands without paying. The girl at the counter was, I can't continue with this. Who comes up with this?
It's a copy pasta meme.
Oh, is it?
It's been a meme for the last 10 years or so.
Oh, I thought he was
yeah, and that's how he's getting it in so quickly. He's copying and pasting Quads. Otherwise, he'd be typing like 400 words per minute right now.
There's a whole story. Yeah, I didn't see anybody at the grocery store yesterday, but I have seen people recently. I've seen people recently. Anyways, this is all a long roundabout way of saying I'm not worried about people posting my parents' home address anymore. They moved, so I'm not worried about it.
Yeah, until they find the new home address. Yeah. Anyway, Morgan Frost, to get back to the original question before we got sidetracked. He's an interesting player, a really talented playmaker. Some would describe him as soft skill and kind of frustrating in that way. Inconsistent player where he'll go quiet for long stretches, a little bit similar to Jack Roslovic in that way, where when he's on, he looks so gifted with the puck and you think, this guy could be a top six center, but then there are other, I don't even want to say other nights, there are other weeks, 10, 15 games at a time where he's a complete non-factor. And outside of his playmaking, he doesn't bring a whole lot to the table. Now, would he be an upgrade over Teddy Blucher? 110%. But first, I don't know how desperate the Flames are to move a guy like that. I imagine it's still too early for them to make moves. And that's a team that traded for him for a reason. They need help down the middle, and he's off to a decent start, 7 points in 14 games. You'd also have to be worried about his contract, $4.375 million cap hit, extra year after this one. if you acquire Frost, does that take you out of the running to acquire? And this is the tough, delicate balancing act that the Canucks are going to have to take when it comes to midseason trades. Is if for acquiring a centerman who has a significant salary attached, that could potentially take you out of the running from making like any other, like if there's a player better than Morgan Frost that becomes available. And so that's going to be part of the conversation as well. I think to sum it up, my overall take right now, first, I don't think Calgary would be eager to move him right now anyway. If it got to a point where closer to the deadline, Calgary's way out of it, they're open to listening to offers, he's an option you'd consider. He's an imperfect option. And it would kind of just depend on where the team's at too, where if the Canucks are still in the thick of the playoff race and you just need a boost to temporarily help you down the middle, then yeah, at the right price, Morgan Frost would be fine. But again, he's more of a Jack Roslovic tier of upgrade where he's not really a true second line center. He's just going to be an upgrade compared to what else you have. And you have to weigh it against your alternative options of if there's a better target that can actually suit your longer term needs closer to the deadline if the Canucks prove that they deserve to be buyers.
This is a good question from Amina. Bedard or Celebrini for Team Canada, or both? Someone also requested that we do rosters for Team Canada, and I guess we'll do Team USA too. I think that'd be fun for both teams. Maybe we'll do that. We'll do that next week. There's actually some days off coming for the team. Like right now, they're playing every second day, but there's a couple coming up where there's some days off. So maybe we'll do that in between one of those days. Jacob, try to remind me about that. But Bedard, Celebrini, man, it is hard not to like what you're seeing out of Macklin Celebrini. But that being said, it's also been a pretty solid start to the season for Connor Bedard as well. I'd have to map out the whole team before I make a sweeping statement of like, I'm taking one or the other. But I don't know. Celebrini just brings so much in all areas of the ice. And I don't think Bedard's got that level of his game yet. And he's also got 18 points. Like Celebrini's got more points than Bedard.
Yeah. Yeah, I would give a pretty strong edge to Celebrini over Bedard right now. 18 points in 13 games, but he's also bigger. And this is one of my biggest takeaways watching Celebrini for BU is he played the game as one of the youngest players in college hockey, as a 17-year-old going up against guys that were way older than him. His two-way play was unbelievable. The number of battles that he won, how good he was on faceoffs, and he's already above 50% in the faceoff dot as a 19-year-old sophomore, which is pretty rare in the NHL. The number of battles that he wins, he's bigger than Bedard. He's just a monster. It's not just the elite offensive production. He's just an all-around monster. To me, Celebrini, if he keeps this up, has to be on Team Canada. Bedard, as much as he's played exceptionally well, I just don't know who you take out to add Bedard to the team.
Yep.
In part because there are other guys who didn't make the team that, for example, Mark Scheifele leads the NHL points right now. He didn't make Team Canada. You're going to leave Mark Scheifele off, especially when at Four Nations, we saw that McDavid didn't quite find his winger to play with. And among the bottom six guys, there weren't a lot of dudes that you could just slot up to play. And you look at Scheifele, if you shift him to the wing, you can start further down the lineup, but with how talented he is as a goal scorer, you can also shuttle him up to play wing. So Scheifele has to be on there. Suzuki, since the Four Nations break, I think leads the NHL in points as well. So Nick Suzuki has to be on that team, in my opinion. He didn't make it last year. And then among the guys that were on Four Nations last year, I think Travis Konechny is probably not going to make it. We'll see what happens with Sam Bennett. He's off to a really slow start, and I know he just won the Conn Smythe, so that's going to be a debate is big game experience. He came through clutch.
You got to bring Sam Bennett. You have to bring Sam Bennett to the Olympics, I think.
Maybe, but how long can he keep producing like this to start the year before it becomes a case of, I actually want to pull the numbers up. I imagine
3 points. It's 2 goals, 1 assist through 12 games.
Exactly. You can't, there's going to be a line where it's all right. You gotta pick it up at some point to guarantee your spot on the team. And then others might say, oh, take Cirelli off. Cirelli's already got 7 goals on the year. He's been terrific. And John Cooper loves him. Hagel had a slow start production wise, but he's cooked up. He's been cooking recently. And man, I was watching a Tampa game recently. That dude is just a monster. And again, coming off a year where he scored 90 points despite not even being a power play one guy, he's a perfect guy to have on a fourth line. It's just a really competitive roster. There aren't many guys. Like Seth Jarvis was another fringe player on that team. Jarvis is breaking out as a superstar. You have to keep him on the team as well. So I don't know if there's space for Connor Bedard, but I think you have to make space for Macklin Celebrini if he keeps this up.
I'm gonna give you a name. If it's not Sam Bennett, give me Tom Wilson. Bring Tom Wilson.
But it's also it's double IHF rules.
What does that mean? What do you mean?
Like officiating. And so is there like for relevant? And so the officiating was sort of to NHL standards. In the Olympics, how valuable
is there no fighting allowed in the Olympics?
No fighting
allowed.
No fighting. International rules. It's going to be officiated like a world championship. I don't know. Harm, do you know? Are they playing on the wide ice or have they gone to NHL ice for Olympics? I know there was discussion about that. Regardless, the way it's going to be officiated will be IIHF rules. So like a guy like Tom Wilson provides very little impact. He would have been great to have for Four Nations, but he provides.
They're still hitting. They're still hitting allowed.
Sure, they're still hitting, but it's you're going to get called for more hitting related penalties, right? They're going to be very strict with boarding, roughing, elbowing, all that kind of stuff.
And I would worry a little bit about Tom Wilson would know part of the reason he's in the lineup is I got to be a physical spark. If he hits a guy a split second late that in the NHL might not get called, or is maybe a 2-minute penalty, does that get called as checking to the head or something? And if I'm in a major, there's risk involved in that. I love Tom Wilson as a player. He's been great for the Capitals this year. But with all the other names out there, I don't know. I think you only have space for one of Bennett or Wilson.
I agree. I definitely agree about that. I was saying if you don't take Bennett, you got to take Wilson. Okay. But now I'm not even sure about Wilson. You have me question everything with these. I got to read up on the IIHF rules. All right, I got to stop talking before I get myself in trouble.
And also, I'll quickly mention Canada's group at the Olympics. They have the Czechs, Swiss, and French. So it's France, Switzerland, and Czechia.
You might not need Tom Wilson to intimidate those teams. I take
so it's teams where like really the only team with multiple lines worth of NHLers they're going to play in the preliminary round are the Czechs. And hey, Filipino might not be available for them. They're going to have potentially one of the best goalies in the tournament if Dobish keeps it up with what he's done. But yeah, they're not going to really have to face NHL competition until the knockout rounds.
You know how you intimidate the teams in your group? You let Connor McDavid rush the puck up the ice with Cale Makar trailing him.
Yeah.
The name to watch among young guys outside of Celebrini and Bedard for me is Matthew Schaefer on the blue line. It's only been 12 games, so that's why I'm not going to sit here and say, oh, he has to be on the team. But if he keeps this up for another 20-ish games or so, I think he's got to be on the team over, 100%. Let's say, Travis Manheim.
Yes. And you don't find many Matthew Schaefer haters. Like this is the thing, Harm. He's going to be on the team next Olympics. And it comes back to this conversation we're having about these young guys. And it was a conversation about rookie Sidney Crosby of like, should they take him to the Olympic team? And the answer was obviously yes, I think. And yeah, I think it's a similar one with Schaefer.
Yeah, and it doesn't even mean he has to necessarily be one of your top 6 defensemen in the lineup. We saw at Four Nations that injuries can happen, right? If Shea Theodore went down, that created an opportunity for Thomas Harley. They do have a lot of bodies in the sense that it's not going to be easy for him to necessarily crack the top 6 when everybody's healthy, but at least to bring him there, have him as an extra, because he's already up to 5 goals in 12 games as a defenseman. Yeah. And it's not just, he's scoring points, but it's empty calorie points the way, I don't know, like an Evan Bouchard puts up. He's driving play 5-on-5, and his skating ability is unbelievable. So he's a name to watch for me.
I love it. All right. Anything else from either of you before we wrap up?
Sorry, I got one quick thing. You know who's the leading Tractor Chelyabinsk in points this year?
No.
No.
Former Canuck Josh Levo,
Oh, that was gonna be my first guess. I didn't know he was on that team.
led the KHL in points and goals last year. He had 49 goals last year for Salavat Yelev, and then he has gone over to Tractor Chelyabinsk. So Josh Levo, former Canuck.
Before Levo had that devastating knee injury and became even slower, he was legit a good player, like a good top 9 winger. The number of board battles that he would win and his shot as well. Yeah, he skated like he was stuck in the mud 24/7, but every other part of his game, Levo was a fun Canuck, and it's actually kind of sad that he had the injury that he did, which basically ended his Canucks tenure.
I was a big Josh Levo truther on this show. Like, if you've been here for 900 episodes, you know there was a time I was talking a lot about Josh Levo. Yeah, really liked him. Good pull, Jacob. Thank you. All right. What did I do last night? Oh yeah, I bet on the Oilers. Bad idea. They blew it. Speaking of Evan Bouchard, let's see who else. Oh, okay. Here's one. All right. I didn't even get to the standings. I wanted to. We'll get to it tomorrow. We've got more time tomorrow. The Anaheim Ducks are taking on the Florida Panthers at home. The Ducks are underdogs at plus 135, and the Ducks might just be a wagon this year. So we're taking Ducks money line at plus 135 against the Cup champs, the defending Cup champs. Whatever your bet is, it's never ordinary at Bet365. Download the app and get on the game. Use the code NATION at Bet365. Must be 19 plus to play. If you choose to play, please play responsibly. We'll wrap it up there. For my co-host, Harman Dial, and our tech producer, Jacob Lazar, my name is Jacob Drelly. Thanks so much for this episode of Canucks Conversation. Canucks Conversation is live Monday through Friday, every weekday at 2 p.m. over on the Canucks Army YouTube channel. Make sure you like, subscribe, and interact in the YouTube live chat every day with us, folks.